For 10 seasons, Stargate SG-1 proved that no mission was too dangerous, but nothing was more devastating than what happened after the final episode. One hero nearly lost the ability to walk after 16 surgeries, another vanished from Hollywood, while others lost his life in a tragic accident. Here's the Stargate SG-1 cast and what really happened to them after nearly 30 years. Our first cast member is Amanda Tapping. Did you know Amanda Tapping almost didn't land the role of Samantha Carter? When she auditioned at 31 years old, she had very little on-set experience. What set her apart was her remarkable ability to deliver complicated astrophysics jargon as if it were everyday conversation. That alone helped her beat out dozens of other actresses and earn the role of the brilliant Air Force officer and scientist, turning Samantha Carter into one of the most inspiring female science fiction characters of the 1990s. But behind the scenes, Amanda had to fight for the character she believed Carter deserved to be. She repeatedly challenged the writers whenever they tried to reduce Carter to a helpless woman or a pretty face waiting to be rescued. Away from Hollywood, she was facing an even more heartbreaking battle. During her marriage to Alan Kovacs, Amanda suffered 8 consecutive miscarriages before finally welcoming their daughter Olivia in 2005. Years later, she chose to share that painful journey publicly to support other women experiencing the same heartbreak. By 2026, Amanda Tapping is 60 years old and has largely stepped away from acting to focus on directing and producing. She now helps shape some of America's most successful television series from behind it. The success she achieved as Samantha Carter also gave her the freedom to build an impressive second career behind the camera. Her achievements have earned her multiple Leo Awards for Best Lead Performance by a Female, along with several major industry nominations, cementing her legacy as one of television's most influential women both on screen and behind the scenes. Now let's turn to Don S. Davis. Before becoming an actor, Don S. Davis served as a captain in the United States Army and was stationed in South Korea. That real-life military experience gave him an authenticity that immediately impressed the producers when he auditioned for Major General George Hammond in 1997 at the age of 55. His natural command, discipline, and quiet authority made Hammond one of the most respected leaders in the Stargate universe, a role he portrayed across 161 episodes. By the end of Season 7, however, Davis was forced to step away as a series regular, not because of creative decisions, but because his health had deteriorated significantly. For years, he battled chronic heart disease and diabetes, and the demanding filming schedule in Vancouver eventually became too much for him to handle. Even so, he remained deeply committed to the franchise, returning for guest appearances throughout Seasons 8, 9, and 10, as well as the 2008 film Stargate Continuum. On June 29, 2008, Don S. Davis passed away unexpectedly from a heart attack at his home in Gibsons, British Columbia. He was 65 years old. He was survived by his wife, Ruby Fleming Davis, whom he had married in 2003 and who remained by his side throughout his final years. Beyond Stargate SG-1, fans also remember Davis as Major Garland Briggs in Twin Peaks and for his memorable guest appearances on The X-Files. To honor both the actor and the beloved commander he brought to life, the writers of Stargate Atlantis later named a spacecraft Hammond, ensuring that his legacy would continue to live on throughout the Stargate universe. Richard Dean Anderson's casting was unlike anyone else's. Instead of auditioning, the former MacGyver star received a personal phone call from MGM's president offering him the role of Jack O'Neill. At 47 years old, he accepted, but only after asking that Stargate SG-1 become a true ensemble series rather than another one-man show. As the series progressed, Anderson gradually reduced his screen time, especially after Season 7 and even more noticeably in Season 8, when O'Neill was promoted to general. The reason had nothing to do with burnout or declining health. It was a deeply personal choice. After welcoming his daughter Wiley with longtime partner April Prosser in 1998, Anderson realized that fatherhood mattered more than anything else. He later admitted that becoming a dad made him want to leave the set as early as possible every day so he could spend more time with his little girl. By 2026, Richard Dean Anderson is 76 years old and living a quiet life, primarily in Malibu, California. After completing his dream home in 2008, he gradually stepped away from Hollywood to devote himself to raising Wiley as a full-time single father. His daughter has since pursued a career in the performing arts, while Anderson has remained largely out of the spotlight, making only occasional appearances for longtime fans. Although Stargate SG-1 introduced him to a new generation of viewers, Anderson's greatest legacy is still MacGyver, the iconic series that ran from 1985 to 1992 and made him one of television's most recognizable stars worldwide. His popularity only grew with Stargate, earning him the Favorite TV Character Award in 2005 for his portrayal of Jack O'Neill, and securing his place as one of the most beloved leading men in television history. Next came Christopher Judge, and his story is just as unexpected. He landed the role of Teal'c almost by accident. In 1997, he happened to visit a friend's house and noticed his friend's roommate rehearsing for an audition for a new science fiction series. Curious, Judge decided to audition himself and stood out by making one bold decision. Instead of portraying Teal'c as another aggressive, intimidating warrior, he gave the character a calm, disciplined presence and remarkable emotional depth. That choice earned him the role and kept him at the heart of Stargate SG-1 throughout its entire 10-season run. The physical cost of that commitment, however, was enormous. Judge performed most of his own stunts for years, rarely relying on a stunt double, and the constant punishment eventually took a serious toll on his body. By 2019, he had undergone multiple major surgeries, including hip replacements as well as back and knee operations. By 2026, Christopher Judge is 61 years old and enjoying a quieter life with his wife, Gianna Patton. After years of surgeries and rehabilitation, he has made a strong physical recovery, allowing him to continue bringing his voice and talent to high-profile entertainment projects. He now enjoys a more balanced life, maintaining close relationships with his children while continuing to pursue the work he loves. Rather than slowing down, Judge found an entirely new level of success through voice acting and performance capture. His unforgettable portrayal of Kratos in the blockbuster God of War franchise introduced him to a new generation of fans around the world. His emotionally powerful performance earned him the BAFTA Games Award for Performer in a Leading Role in 2023, along with Best Performance at the Game Awards. According to co-creator Brad Wright, Michael Shanks won the role of Daniel Jackson at just 26 years old because he could almost perfectly capture the quirky mannerisms of James Spader, who had originated the character in the 1994 Stargate film. But Shanks didn't simply imitate the performance. He gradually made Daniel warmer, more compassionate, and more relatable, creating a version of the character that became one of the emotional heartbeats of Stargate SG-1 for years. Everything changed at the end of Season 5, when Shanks made the shocking decision to leave the series. He later admitted that creative disagreements with the writers had reached a breaking point. In his view, Daniel had slowly become little more than a walking encyclopedia, spending most of his time translating ancient languages, while the military side of the story took center stage. Daniel's emotional death in the episode Meridian sparked an overwhelming backlash from fans, and the producers eventually gave in, bringing Shanks back as a full-time cast member beginning with Season 7. By 2026, Michael Shanks is 55 years old and enjoying a peaceful, stable life in Vancouver with his family. Time has softened the creative frustrations that once led him to leave Stargate, allowing him to focus instead on long-term artistic fulfillment. Supported by a happy family life, he continues to choose acting projects carefully while remaining actively involved in creative work behind the scenes in his hometown. The success of Stargate gave Shanks both the financial freedom and industry reputation. He later won praise for his leading role as Dr. Charlie Harris in the hit medical drama Saving Hope. Appearances in acclaimed series such as Altered Carbon, along with multiple Leo Award wins and nominations over the years, have further cemented his reputation as one of Canada's most respected television actors. Another fan favorite arrived with Terrell Rothery. At just 34 years old, she stepped into the role of Dr. Janet Fraser. The character was never meant to be a permanent character. Originally written as a guest role for only a handful of episodes, Fraser quickly became indispensable thanks to Rothery's warm, natural performance and her effortless chemistry with the main cast. The audience response was so overwhelmingly positive that the producers abandoned their original plan and promoted her to the Stargate Command's trusted chief medical officer for the years that followed. Her biggest turning point came in Season 7, when the writers made the controversial decision to kill off Dr. Fraser while she was treating a wounded soldier on the battlefield. The emotional storyline was intended to honor the real-life sacrifices made by military medical personnel, but it left fans devastated. The backlash was immediate, inspiring a fan campaign known as Save Janet Fraser, with countless letters sent in protest. Even Rothery admitted she was heartbroken to say goodbye to a character she had grown to love. By 2026, Terrell Rothery is 63 years old and continues to enjoy an active and fulfilling life in her native Canada. She has remained a familiar face on television, with her enduring popularity leading to a steady stream of roles in successful series. She has continued to devote herself fully to acting, taking on one memorable project after another. The success of Dr. Janet Fraser opened the door to an impressive career. Rothery later impressed audiences as Grace Sherman in Cedar Cove and delivered standout performances in hit series including The Good Doctor, Virgin River, Arrow, and Nancy Drew. Her remarkable versatility and decades of consistent work have earned her widespread respect, firmly establishing her as one of Canada's most accomplished and enduring television actresses. When Dan Shea joined Stargate SG-1 at 42, he never expected to become part of the show's main supporting cast. Shea landed the role of Sergeant Siler after an informal audition. In fact, the character wasn't even part of the original script and began as little more than an inside joke among the production team. But Shea's ability to deliver complicated technical dialogue with complete confidence turned Siler into a fan favorite, known for constantly finding himself in one disastrous workplace accident after another. Beyond appearing on screen, Shea served as one of the production's key stunt coordinators and frequently performed dangerous action sequences in place of Richard Dean Anderson. Years of explosions, falls, and physically demanding work eventually took a heavy toll on his body. One of his worst injuries came during a stunt in Toronto, when he shattered his foot after a high jump performed in temperatures approaching -30 degrees Celsius. By 2026, Dan Shea is 71 years old and has chosen a quieter life, staying largely behind the scenes and away from the spotlight. The successful career he built over decades has given him financial security and the freedom to enjoy retirement in Canada with his family. The reputation Shea earned through the Stargate franchise also established him as one of Vancouver's most respected stunt coordinators. He went on to oversee action sequences for Stargate Atlantis and the hit comedy drama Psych, while also contributing to the spectacular stunt work in major Hollywood productions such as X-Men, Days of Future Past, and The Incredible Hulk. His work behind the camera became just as influential as the character that first made him familiar to Stargate fans. Few actors have ever faced a tougher assignment than Ben Browder. In 2005, after the sudden cancellation of his hit science fiction series, the 42-year-old actor was handed the impossible task of stepping into Stargate SG-1 as Lieutenant Colonel Cameron Mitchell. The Sci-Fi Channel saw him as the perfect choice to carry the franchise into its next chapter after Richard Dean Anderson began stepping away from the spotlight, making Browder the new leader of SG-1 during its final 2 seasons. Winning the role, however, was only the beginning of the challenge. Replacing one of television's most beloved science fiction heroes meant facing relentless scrutiny from fans who simply couldn't imagine SG-1 without Jack O'Neill. Behind the cameras, Browder was also working through a period of shrinking production budgets, leaving the cast and crew under increasing pressure as the series approached its conclusion. Rather than trying to imitate Anderson, Browder deliberately gave Cameron Mitchell his own personality, determined to earn the audience's respect on his own terms. By 2026, Ben Browder is 63 years old and living a quiet, fulfilling life with his wife, actress Francesca Buller. Their relationship began nearly 40 years ago while the two were studying drama in London, and it has remained one of the strongest constants throughout his career. Although he no longer maintains the demanding schedule of his television years, Browder remains a beloved figure within the science fiction community, regularly appearing at conventions where fans continue to celebrate his work. His years in both Farscape and Stargate SG-1 established him as one of the defining faces of modern science fiction television. That reputation later led to appearances in internationally successful productions, such as Doctor Who and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Along the way, Browder earned 2 Saturn Awards for Best Actor, proving that his impact on the genre extended far beyond single iconic role and securing legacy. In the final chapter in 2005, the producers made one of the biggest casting decisions in the show's history. Rather than searching for another action star, they turned to Hollywood veteran Beau Bridges. At 63 years old and already backed by more than 5 decades of acting experience as a member of the legendary Bridges family, he was chosen to take command of Stargate Command as General Hank Landry. His calm authority, quiet confidence, and natural warmth brought a very different style of leadership to the series, giving the franchise fresh energy for its final 2 seasons. Stepping into such an important role was far from easy. The demanding production schedule and long hours on set would have tested any actor, let alone someone already in his 60s. At the same time, Bridges faced the difficult challenge of winning over fans who were still adjusting to the departure of Richard Dean Anderson. Instead of trying to replace what had come before, he focused on making General Landry a steady, compassionate leader whose experience and wisdom became the emotional anchor of the SG-1 team. By 2026, Beau Bridges is 84 years old and enjoying a peaceful life with his wife, Wendy Treese, surrounded by their close-knit family. With 5 children and decades of success behind him, family has remained the center of his life, providing the support and balance that have helped him maintain both his health and his passion for the arts. He still makes occasional public appearances, especially at events celebrating the remarkable legacy of the Bridges family. Over the course of his extraordinary career, Beau Bridges has earned the admiration of both audiences and critics alike. His remarkable list of honors includes 3 Emmy Awards, 2 Golden Globe Awards, and a Grammy Award, reflecting decades of consistently outstanding work. Combined with unforgettable performances in films such as The Fabulous Baker Boys, alongside his brother Jeff Bridges, those achievements have firmly established him as one of the most respected and accomplished actors of his generation. Michael Shanks's sudden departure left Stargate SG-1 facing one of the biggest casting challenges in the series' history. With production already moving forward, the studio needed a replacement almost immediately. Corin Nemec was 30 years old when he stepped into the role of Jonas Quinn, bringing a fresh energy to the franchise. Rather than trying to imitate Daniel Jackson, he wisely gave Jonas his own personality, allowing the character to build a loyal following of its own. More than 10 years later, life dealt him a far more devastating blow than anything he had experienced in Hollywood. In January 2013, while traveling by boat to the set of Poseidon Rex in Belize, The vessel crashed into a partially submerged Coast Guard barge at high speed. The collision shattered his femur into 3 pieces and left him with catastrophic blood loss. Doctors rushed him into emergency surgery and performed multiple blood transfusions, spending hours fighting to save his life after the near-fatal accident. By 2026, Corin Nemec is 54 years old and enjoying a much more stable chapter of his life with his family after moving on from the difficulties of his first marriage. Although the injuries he suffered in Belize continue to affect his mobility, they have never diminished his enthusiasm for meeting fans. He remains a familiar face at science fiction conventions around the world, where audiences continue to celebrate the actor who gave Jonas Quinn his own unique place in the Stargate universe. Although Stargate SG-1 introduced him to a new generation of viewers, Corin Nemec had already built an impressive career long before joining the franchise. He first rose to fame as the title character in the hit sitcom Parker Lewis Can't Lose, then earned widespread praise for his emotionally layered performance as Harold Lauder in Stephen King's The Stand. Those memorable roles, together with decades of work across film and television, have secured his reputation as one of science fiction's most recognizable and resilient performers. So, we come to Tony Amendola. He was 46 years old when he took on the role of Master Bratak, the legendary Jaffa warrior whose wisdom, dignity, and quiet strength quickly made him one of the most respected characters in the entire Stargate universe. Although Bratak was never intended to be a central figure, Amendola's commanding performance transformed him into a beloved mentor whose presence elevated the series for years. Outside of Stargate, Amendola's distinctive appearance and fluency in both Italian and Spanish opened the door to a wide variety of memorable roles. Audiences recognized him as the stern Spanish magistrate in The Mask of Zorro and as the Mexican marijuana farmer in Blow. Yet those same qualities also created unexpected obstacles. Amendola has spoken candidly about spending years being typecast in ethnic stereotypes, forcing him to work tirelessly to prove that his range extended far beyond the characters Hollywood repeatedly offered him. By 2026, Tony Amendola is 75 years old and enjoying a peaceful life in Los Angeles with his wife, Judith Marks. After decades of steady work across film, television, and voice acting, he has achieved the financial security to slow down and enjoy life on his own terms. Rather than chasing demanding filming schedules, he now focuses on his health, his family, and the independent arts and cultural projects that have always been close to his heart. The lasting popularity of Stargate became the foundation for an extraordinary second act in his career. Fans embraced his heartfelt portrayal of Geppetto in Once Upon a Time, his powerful performance as Edward Kagame in Continuum, and his chilling role as Santos Jimenez in Dexter. More recently, he introduced his unmistakable voice to millions of gamers around the world as the legendary wizard Khadgar in the World of Warcraft franchise, proving that even after decades in the industry, Tony Amendola remains one of its most respected and enduring performers. Finally, we have Claudia Black. He was only 31 years old when she first appeared in Stargate SG-1 as a guest star in the episode Prometheus Unbound. No one expected the clever, unpredictable thief Vala Maldoran to become such an instant fan favorite. Her playful chemistry with Michael Shanks was impossible to ignore, prompting the producers to bring her back as a recurring character in Season 9 while Amanda Tapping was on maternity leave. By Season 10, Vala had officially become a full-time member of the SG-1 team. Ironically, Stargate arrived at one of the most uncertain periods of Claudia Black's career. Science fiction fans had already embraced her as the unforgettable Aaron Sun in the acclaimed series Farscape. But in 2003, at the height of its popularity, the show was abruptly canceled, leaving both the cast and crew devastated. Like many of her co-stars, Black suddenly found herself facing an uncertain future, unsure where her career would go next after losing the role that had defined her for years. By 2026, Claudia Black is 53 years old and living an independent life in Los Angeles after the end of her 12-year marriage to Jamie Oddie. In addition to acting, she has become a trauma recovery coach, helping people overcome emotional hardships by drawing on both her professional experience and her own personal journey. Rather than limiting herself to television, Black successfully reinvented her career in the worlds of video games and animation. Her unforgettable voice performances as Morrigan in the Dragon Age franchise and Chloe Frazer in the Uncharted series introduced her to millions of new fans around the globe. Those acclaimed performances, along with multiple BAFTA and Leo Award nominations throughout her career, have firmly established Claudia Black as one of the most respected and versatile actresses in modern science fiction. So that's the Stargate SG-1 cast then and now in 2026. Nearly 30 years later, their lives have changed far beyond the Stargate itself. Which actor do you remember the most, and who surprised you the most today? Tell us in the comments, and be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more then and now updates.